Good evening, good evening, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of What's Up, Cuz. I am your host, Jason Palmer, along with my cousin, the coach himself, Lance C. Irvin. We welcome you in on this Monday
Woo!
night after taking last week off for Halloween, and we had some other things we had to do. We are back with you tonight for a full 2 hour show to talk about everything that's going on in the world of sports. We also are bringing in a guest tonight at 6:30 to talk about a very serious issue, even though we usually have a very rambunctious, fun type of show. There's a topic that we need to delve into that is taking place not just in Chicago, but kind of all around the country that we wanted to get into. And we're going to give you a little bit more background on that in a few minutes. But our 6:30 guest is Billy Moore, and we will talk about violence, not just in Chicago, but also how it affects athletes, how no one is immune for it, and how people who have done time for doing some pretty violent, bad things in society are now coming back to try to contribute to society to help us resolve some of these problems, some of these conflicts that are happening in our neighborhoods. So Billy Moore is going to be our guest tonight. He's going to come on and talk to us about some of that stuff. But hey, welcome back to What's Up, Cuz, Lance Irvin. I hadn't seen you in a couple weeks. How you been?
You know what? I've been great. And you know what? I was doing better. I was doing a lot better yesterday until we didn't score on the final possession. So that leads to my question. Why you on that show with those ugly dolphin colors on?
You know why I'm wearing
Are you trying
dolphin
to tell me something?
colors?
I don't why are you wearing dolphin colors?
Because we whooped the
Th- th-
Bears' ass. That's why I'm wearing dolphin colors. You know
Okay.
damn well why I'm wearing these colors.
Did you say y'all whooped us last time I checked?
Yes.
Wasn't the score 35,
You lost the
32?
game, didn't you?
But you said whooping. You
You
using the
lost the
proverbial
game.
phrase whooping like we got
Your
blown out.
quarterback is a running back.
Well, I mean, he only ran for about 178. He was just running like Lamar Jackson, but he ran. I thought he was gonna run for 250 the way y'all couldn't tackle him.
I'm telling you, he a beast though. That one he ran for 61 yards. I was like, yeah, we got it. Oh Lord, no, we don't. Somebody
Jay, I thought he was gonna start high stepping like Deion Sanders, like prime time back in the days. But he
Justin
slowed
Fields,
down.
he a talent. He is a talent. He is a talent. But hey, tell everybody how they can watch our show. We know they're watching us right now. Tell us about all different ways they can watch our show, and if they haven't downloaded all our good stuff, how they can get it.
You know what? You can find us on iTunes Store, the Amazon Store, and the Google Play Store. You could go to Facebook. You could go to YouTube. And Jay, is it Roku? Roku TV, however you want to pronounce it. Some people pronounce it Roku. Some people pronounce it Roku. But just download the app and come watch us. And follow me on my social media accounts, please, because my cousin has lost his mind. My cousin come on here with all this green and orange. Is that spinach
It's
color
teal.
green?
It's teal, damn it.
Teal. That doesn't look like teal. Why you cursing on the show?
It's teal. Teal.
See, to be honest, that's your side piece team.
No, it's
You
not.
told me no. Sean, last year you and Maya said you had a side piece
Last
team.
year, and then I divorced the Chicago Bears. Thank you very much. I divorced them, and I'm not coming back. Even if they win 8 Super Bowls, I'm not coming back. I have a new boo. We are committed. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Call me
So
if y'all want to call me. I'm out.
the man said this was a side piece team. Not you to just give Jason. Where are you from? You
I'm
from the south side of Chicago.
Chicago.
Us Chicagoans, you know we stick together.
Okay, hold
Everybody
on.
here is a
Hold on,
Bears fan.
hold on, Lance Irvin.
And Bears we trust.
Where are you from, Lance Irvin?
The south side of Chicago.
And what is your NBA team?
We're not talking about NBA. See, what I learned from you is this. We're not transitioning to the other subject. We're not talking about Bulls. We're talking about Bears. One thing all us Chicagoans have in common, we all root for the Bears.
No, we
Just
don't.
because we had a couple of lean years,
Lean.
that doesn't give you the right lean. Levy went 10-6. The last coach, I'm not gonna mention his name, he made the playoffs a couple of years.
Wow.
Then we just had a couple of lean years.
Wow.
But like the super back has told us, on the show. We're ahead of the schedule right now. He predicted we would win 8 or 9 games. We on schedule to win somewhere between 8 games.
Well, you may win 8 or 9 games, but you didn't win that game yesterday, so you can say whatever you want.
Let me put my cup down.
But that is the first topic of today's show. The Miami Dolphins and Tyreek Hill. Woo, that boy right there is a beast, though. Tyreek Hill and the Miami Dolphins come into Soldier Field and run past the Chicago Bears 35-32 in a not anticipated but highly offensive game. Good Lord, wasn't nobody playing no defense. Both defenses was terrible. My kicker couldn't kick a 32-yard field goal. It was embarrassing, Lance Irvin.
You know what? That's why I thought the Bears was going to win because we had the ball last. And I said, whoever has the ball last, because the defense wasn't playing like they typical play for right reasons, right? You give up Raekwon Smith, you trade Robert Quinn, Jay. That's a lot of stress you putting on the defense, asking them to come out there and perform when you lose the two main cogs in that wheel. Would you agree with me or don't agree with me?
I agree with you.
But what they did, though, we were a tackle away from winning the game. But I'm not happy. You know, people say they're happy for a moral victory. I'm not, because we should have won. And without the cheetah, without Tyreek Hill, y'all ain't SH. Y'all ain't. I'm not going to say it.
This is unbelievable. Just the lack of reality of Chicago Bears fans. Look,
What?
You all had your chances. Miami had their chances. Miami screwed up a few times. Waddle was wide open, could have had a touchdown. That would have sealed the game. 2 underthrown. Then we had the ball deep in your territory a couple times in the red zone. Went for it on 4th down. One of them, Tua, just completely missed the throw to the dude. That would have sealed the game. I mean, it was a lot of different plays in that game. Yes, the referees definitely missed some calls that went against the Bears. That was not only pass interference, that was a mugging that they did.
I sent you guys a text. How do you, once again, you're official. You're very good at what you do.
Yeah.
When you standing on top of a play like that, Jay, how do you miss a play like that?
Easily. Same way basketball players miss free throws where ain't nobody guarding them. Ain't nobody sticking them. They miss the damn shot. Ain't nobody under them near the basket. They miss a layup. Sometimes they miss a dunk. It happens. It happens. The same way a football player is wide open, nobody around him, ball hit him in his hands and he drop it. Sometimes it happens, man. That's the part of the sport. I'm sorry.
Jay, it is. But with that being said, that's the difference between a playoff berth.
Yeah.
That's the difference between a bonus.
Yeah.
That's the difference between somebody reaching a dream or a goal that they had. And I'm not saying they perfect, right? I just think as a coach, as a fan, there's some plays you have to get right.
I agree. And as a fan, I agree that there's some plays players should make. I think as a fan, that dumbass moves coaches make, we were sitting us scratching our head. All last year, we were all talking about how stupid Matt Nagy was. Am I right?
You were 100% right. That's why I wasn't going to mention his name. That's why I wasn't going to.
We were all like, holy crap, this dude is awful. So, yes, the referees missed some plays. It happens. I mean, I don't know what else to tell people.
No, exactly, Jay. And I tell people, you know how people say the refs cheated. I don't think grown men, Jay, from Pee Wee League, small fry basketball league, whatever, I don't think refs set out to cheat kids, right? I just think sometimes they just make bad calls, which is a part of the game. And it helps us deal with adversity. Now, sometimes I joke and laugh, but nobody is perfect. But like I said, there are still certain calls that you should make. And I don't let kids say, Jay, he cheated. No. You're not going to stand up and tell me that grown man cheated. Now, maybe he missed one, but it still was opportunities for the Bears to win the game.
Well, and I mean, the referees get held accountable for they screw-ups. I mean, if people don't think that's happening, then I don't know what to tell them. We get evaluated. Well, the NFL referees, MLB, NBA, NHL, they get evaluated after every game. Every single game they get evaluated. They have disciplinary action taken against them. It's not usually on judgment calls, but if they definitely screw up a rule, they definitely gonna lose some money on that. So I mean, it's not like they make mistakes and there are no consequences. It's similar to the athletes.
That's great what you said. And I think as a player, Jay, we all dream of you had a ball, you making the last drive, you have under 2 minutes, you want to march down the field and score. It just didn't happen right. But at least they put themselves in a position to have an opportunity to win the
Yeah,
game.
they
They
did.
just didn't convert. And I thought a lot of people thought that they were going to get blown out. Because I remember when you, myself, and Sean, we looked at the
Hmm.
schedule a couple of weeks ago. We said this stretch that they were going through, that the Bears was going through, this would be a tell-off stretch. If they could go 500 through this stretch, we figured they'd win 8, maybe 9 games. So
Hmm.
they played
Hmm.
right there, and I'm happy about Jay that they're starting to score the ball more than what they were doing early. Early on, 3 weeks ago, I said they was averaging 15.2 points per game. They were next to laugh in the NFL. Not in the last 3, 4 games, they probably averaging like 27, 28 points per game. We had 32. Week before, I think they went for about 28 again. So they productivity on the offensive end is starting to pick up where it should be. Because 15, Jay, that just wasn't enough for me. And let me ask you this. Did you have a problem with Fields running as much as he ran yesterday?
Hell no. He he was fun to watch, man. We ain't seen nothing like this since Michael Vick. I mean, Cam Newton did it, but Fields does it. That dude fast, man. He is
Mhm.
built like a running back, and he fast, man. And he can throw. He can throw that pill. And I was telling Sean on his show earlier today. When remember earlier in the season, people were questioning, "Oh, we made a this dude is terrible." I like, "Yep, y'all, this is terrible." And that was when Tua got hurt. I like Justin Fields so terrible. Please trade him to Miami. I will gladly take him. We can work with him because I knew then he had the potential. And like Sean had been saying all year, this dude has been a winner everywhere he went. And he's got
Mhm.
skill set. You just got to put the rest of the pieces around him and give him time to develop, which is what people don't want to do in modern sports is give people time to develop. They want instant results, and it doesn't work like that, man. He's going to be just fine. The Bears are going to be just fine in 2 years.
And the one thing, Jay, like Sean said too, they don't turn the ball over. So you
Right.
give yourself a chance when you don't turn the ball over. And one thing about Fields, Jay, and Sean could probably say more is that it seems like his reads was better looking up the field.
Sure.
So
Sure.
he just didn't have happy feet when the puck was closing on him. He had to get up out of there. But it seemed like his reads better, Jay. 32 points gives you a chance to win. They just didn't win. And like I mentioned earlier, when you talk about the defense, the way we lost 2 focal points on the defense, I mean, I take it, but we have to come back and make sure hopefully we win the next game. But I
Yeah.
thought it was solid, Jay. I mean, from a wide receiver standpoint, I'm not never satisfied because at
Hmm.
the end of the day, I think we need a for sure number one wide receiver to help with the passing game, spread the field out more. But your Miami Dolphins, Jay, they got a good team. I think that put them on what 6-3, or they still
Yeah,
is
six
that
and three,
six
tied
and three?
for second in the East in the AFC East. The AFC East is good. I mean, football's got so much parity, man. It's got so much parity in the NFL. That's what makes it so hard to bet.
Man, Jay, like the people, like I was talking to a coach and he was talking about how, he's playing FanDuel and
Mm.
how he struggled yesterday. But like you said, Jay, from the Buffalo Bills, hell, Tampa Bay came back and won yesterday and they were struggling. You had a
Detroit
Rams.
beat Green Bay for the love of
Detroit beat Green Bay, Jay. When that happened yesterday, Jay, you know what I did, Jay? I turned off the TV, opened up my organizational leadership books, and started reading about how you could coach somebody. Because I know Aaron Rodgers' mindset was messed up. So I thought about calling him and asking him some open-ended questions to get his mind right. Come on, man.
Yeah.
I
I
t-
mean,
and Jay,
any given Sunday.
I said the Lions' defense was much improved, but you
Yeah.
don't expect for them to lose to Green Bay, Jay.
No.
Like,
No.
I mean, come on, man.
No. That's interesting.
That's a no-no.
So, one of the things I wanted to ask Sean about, both of these teams made some trades at the trade deadline
Mhm.
last week. And this was the first game for those new acquisitions. So I had a question for you, Sean, if you got a chance here. Question actually came from my wife, and I'm like, I don't really know the answer to this. I'm gonna ask somebody who would know. There he is, a superback Sean. So, Sean, when a player is traded to a new team in football, I'm talking football only, in general, how long does it take for them to learn the playbook? Because a football playbook is completely different than what Lances may have in basketball. Baseball, it ain't really a lot of schemes and stuff that you're learning. Well, football, y'all got all sorts of stuff going on. How long does it take for these guys to pick up on this stuff?
Depends on the position and the player. So if it's a wide receiver, you can put packages together. Because I mean, let's be honest, the route tree is pretty much the same, all right, for most teams. You might stray or differ from this team to the last team, all right, but you always got a go route, you got a slant route, all right, you got to dig a deep in, all right, you got a curl, you got a under route, all right, you got a post, you got a corner, you got a disco route, all right. So all these routes are pretty much the same. Okay, it's just the terminology that you have to get used to. Some might call it disco route. Other teams might call it a whip route. Right, this is where the receiver looks like he's running a slant, looks like 3 or 4 steps in, and then pivots out and comes back out the field. That's a disco route or a pivot route or a whip route.
Okay.
So it's just that. And what they'll do is they'll say, okay, they'll ask him and say, what are you most comfortable with? All right, you with this, and this. Okay, cool. We're going to put you in here, and we're going to put these plays in. It's going to be, 503 ZX, Y cross, whatever the thing is. And when you hear that, just know that you got a post. All right, and this one you got a post. And this one's a run play, so you got to block. You don't have to worry about blocking. You block the same way in any team possible. So it varies by position. I mean, by team, from team to team,
Okay.
and the terminology, how quick they are to pick it up. A running back's a little more difficult if that happens during the season because you got to figure out how your linemen are blocking. All right, receivers is a little easier, like I said, because you could put packages in for that guy and just say, I need you to run a route, I need you to run a curl, a slant, or this, or that, or whatever. And then you stay after practice, which Justin was doing, all right, and you work on those routes with the new guy. So the skill position, it could take, obviously they're not in full harmony yet. They will be in about 2-3 weeks, but right now they're getting better. And probably after the Atlanta game, is that when the bye is?
Yes, I think it's after the Atlanta game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it is. No, Atlanta,
Before?
Atlanta, the Jets.
And then the bye.
No, Green Bay comes to Chicago, then the bye.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The bye, Philly, Buffalo, at Detroit, and home against Minnesota.
So then let me ask you this then. What about for the defensive end? What about for the defensive players? Because Chubb also had gotten traded.
Yeah,
playing for Miami, and you could tell they had him on like a limited package because you would have said, "Oh God, they got Chubb the week before he come to Bears. He just gonna rush the passer," and that basically looked like what he was just doing because he's got to know what the twists, the stunts, and all the blitz packages.
Again, twists and stunts, TEET stunts, those are going to be the same thing anywhere. All right, so you just got to kind of work on the timing with the defensive tackle. The other thing is, like, when it's third down, you go get the quarterback the same way the AFC, the NFC do. All right, go get it. Go get it and go get them. And so, it's a lot easier for an edge rusher, which is why I was telling you earlier. If we can go out and just pay for 2 like stud defensive ends, we don't got to worry about them. Set the edge for a little bit and go get the quarterback. It'd be easier because now you know what you have, right? And I don't know how it's not difficult for the edge rushers. Now, a middle linebacker, it'll be a little more difficult. But again, if you're in a cover 2 and you're a Mike linebacker, you got the deep middle, right? It's just a lot of terminology. I think Junior said it as well. Verbiage, just a lot. It's not as difficult as you think. It's just the timing and the chemistry is what you really got to get, and you can't do that until it's game day. You can't.
That's something that I was saying, Sean. Oh, go ahead, Jay.
No. I was going to ask you what it's like for basketball.
No, it's the same thing. Like Sean explained it great. Like the verbiage, since we're using verbiage, might be different, but it's all the same. Like for instance, a down screen. We go a down screen, or we gonna run like in the NBA 25 twists. That means the 2-man and the 5, you're running a pick and roll game. So it's just what you call it, but most actions are similar or the same. So you will pick it up in like a week or two, but it's not as hard as people think it is. Sean, let me
Chemistry you
ask
got to
you.
gain. Go ahead.
Let me ask
What's
you-
up,
let me
Lance?
ask you this. Shoulder pads getting smaller and smaller, right? Are they as effective? I know they make you a little bit faster. Are they as effective as the big bulky shoulder pads
Back in the
people
day.
used to wear back in the days? Because it seemed like I was looking at Von Miller. I said I barely knew he had shoulder pads on.
Mm-hmm.
So what's up? Are they better? Like
It
from a
depends on the
safety
position.
standpoint?
It
Okay.
depends on the position. Offensive linemen usually don't get smaller shoulder pads. Defensive players will. They feel faster.
Mhm.
You don't want as much to grab. That's one of the main reason they want them. You don't like those big wide shoulder pads. You want them close and hugging your shoulders, hugging them down. So if you ever see guys that it won't be like a square,
Exactly.
it'll be more on an angle because they don't want as much area for you to grab. And in those defensive ends, they're not really hitting a lot of people. You're fighting with a guy, all right, the offensive tackles, but you're not getting hit for the most part. For the most part, you're not getting hit. You're not like an offensive guard. You know what I mean? You're not one of those guys who's really getting smashed in every play because it's usually just you one-on-one with the tackle.
Gotcha.
So and the way the NFL is going now, everyone wants everything's so streamlined. They want it smaller, they want it lighter, with just or still as protective as the bigger stuff.
Because didn't you tell me last year they got rid of kind of like the thigh pads?
Yeah, a lot of guys do. Yeah, a lot of guys hate those. I being a running back, I could never go into a game without wearing thigh. I had to wear them.
Okay.
And now you start what you start to see now because like if you're look at the wide receivers, a lot of them don't have thigh pads. Look at the DBs, a lot of them don't have thigh pads. All right, but if you look at some of the running backs and stuff, they actually marketing again. They'll have like maybe a logo or a brand or something that you can kind of see through their shirt, especially if it gets wet or sweaty and things like that. Yeah, you can see the name of the brand that they're repping for the thigh boards, or maybe it's just a thigh pad brand itself. So, but yeah, and by the way, thigh boards they're really 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 light. So why guys don't like to wear them? I had some nice styrofoam thigh boards. These were top of the art when I played. And I played with these things for probably the last 8-10 years of my career. They're just yeah.
Armando said he had a neck roll. I don't see a lot of guys with the neck roll anymore.
Kyle Vander Esch on the Cowboys is probably the only one that I've seen. Vander Esch is probably the only guy I've seen with a neck roll.
Huh.
Wow.
Interesting.
Jay, we need that for a show because like I said, I was watching Sean. I'm like, where the shoulder pads disappeared to?
Yeah.
Well, the scary part, Lance, I heard somebody say that a lot of them don't even wear cups no more.
No, no way. That's been out. Shit, I haven't worn a cup since high school.
You didn't wear a cup in college, Sean?
Nope.
So what? Just the compression tights and that's it now?
No, you had a jock strap. So you had a jock strap which held the boys in check. All right, nice and tight. And then I had my compression pants with my hip pads and my or if I didn't have after my first year, it was just a rope. It was just a rope, and if you ever seen the thigh boards, you had the little holes in it. You could just go. I mean, the hip pads, you put it just little belt, and I would just have I know because it's bulky, it's solid, it doesn't move. So whenever you're in weird position,
I'm trying to protect my fellas.
Yeah. Not since high school, bro.
Ooh.
Lance, I did not know. Lance, did you wear a cup when you played college basketball?
Just compressions. That's it.
Yeah. It's you're a lot freer. You're a lot freer.
Yeah, I believe it.
But you know, I would think in football, all the hitting and stepping on you and grabbing and doing all this, like that's tough. That is tough.
Y'all crazy playing football without a cup and no thigh pads. There's a lot of guys don't wear underwear.
I don't. No, you don't wear underwear.
You gotta wear some compression stuff now.
No, you wear compression pants. Yeah. Have you ever see whenever they bend over and stuff and the jersey's up, you see the Nike in the back, the compression pants. You don't wear. You don't not wear. You know. No, especially if you don't wear thigh pads. Especially if you don't wear thigh pads. Yeah, you gotta keep the boys secure, snug.
Speaking of snug, Sean, I thought the offensive line held up fairly well yesterday until we gave that sack up down the stretch. Do you think they're performing better than they have been, or is Justin Fields just running, which is making them look a little bit better?
No, one of the things I think the offensive line is getting better. Every game that goes by is more experience that they get, win or lose or draw. All right, it's more experience that they get. All right, you may not like it, but the way they perform. But it's more experience. The best thing about this is that Justin is getting the ball out quicker.
Mm-hmm.
All right, if you notice, it's 2 seconds. It's under 3 seconds. 1,001, 1,002, and it's gone. All right, and so that doesn't give you a good chance for a pass rush. Now, if it's a little longer or someone comes in his face, that's when Justin will. I mean, if the routes are a little longer, the route concept is a little longer, okay, then, he might hold it. Then you may see him run, okay? But, as a defensive lineman, if you're – and they'll take plays off. Guys will take plays off. And if you realize that, okay, hopefully he's going to throw, if you don't get a good takeoff and you get kind of stoned by the offensive lineman, you're still going to make it look like you're going 100%, but you're really not. Like, all right, you got me in this one, but I still got to fight because they can't bust me out in film. On Monday, I can't do that. So it'll buy some time. So with the running game and with Justin getting the ball out quicker, sometimes they just think, man, he's going to be a quick out or a quick release. And so they may not go as hard because they realize it's conserving energy. It's conserving energy. So
Gotcha.
The offensive line did a decent job. We still need to do a much better job. I think Braxton Jones needs more weight in his ass. He needs a year of weight room work. He needs a whole year of weight room work. He's got to get bigger thighs. He's got to get a bigger ass. He's got to be able to anchor, because the only thing that they're doing to him that they're successful with is a bull rush.
Bull rush.
They try to swim. They try and rip and. They try and rip and punch and spin. They can't get by him because he's very athletic. But when they just say bump it, I'm just gonna push you back. He don't have enough weight in his ass to anchor and stop these guys, and that's the issue. So now people don't even do moves. They don't do swim moves, rip moves, spin moves. Like, why? Well, all I can do is just bull rush him, and you can't stop it.
Interesting.
There you go. All right. Well, I appreciate you chiming in on that, Sean. I still can't believe y'all didn't win no damn
Cups.
Okay, knock yourself out. Learn something new every day on this show, folks. What can I tell you? All right, that is the end of our first segment of the show. We have
quick.
our first guest coming up here at 6:30. It is time for our commercial break. We will be right back. You are watching What's the Cubs? We'll be back in about 2 minutes.
No, I don't know, though. I'm scared. I mean, you're
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Operator 901, where's the emergency?
127 Brymere.
Okay, what's going on there?
I'd like to order a pizza for delivery.
Ma'am, you've reached 911. This is an emergency line.
Large with half pepperoni, half mushrooms.
You've called 911. This is an emergency
Do you
line.
know how long it'll be?
Okay, ma'am, is everything okay over there? Do you have an emergency or not?
Yes.
And you're unable to talk because...
Right.
Is there someone in the room with you? Just say yes or no.
Yes.
Okay, it looks like I have an officer about a mile from your location. Are there any weapons in your house?
No.
Can you stay on the phone with me?
No. See you soon. Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone, to What's Up, Cuz. I'm your host, Jason Palmer, as we have a technical glitch, apparently. We're going to take a quick second to fix this glitch. Lance and Sean are going to come and talk about something while I fix this glitch and see what's going on.
See, Sean, that's what happens when you do too much. You don't
That's-
understand what you're doing. See, he's doing a little bit too much, but that's okay, though.
That's what happens, Lance, when you root for the Dolphins. Okay, a team plays for the Bears. Okay, the electronic gods and the polar vortex and the corneal vortex and the whatever vortex, they're getting them. All right, and he deserves it. All right, he deserves it.
Hey, Sean, let me ask you this. Let's talk about football. The Aaron Rodgers situation.
I love it.
What's wrong with Aaron Rodgers, and why do you love the way he's playing? Because he was bad to me yesterday. What's going on with Aaron Rodgers? I mean,
Him and the receivers, man. Ever since he started drinking that whatever Guanacana stuff, dude, he's been the hallucinogenic stuff. He's been all jacked up. The receivers are dropping balls. The receivers aren't where they need to be, and he's frustrated. Aaron is as much of a diva as he is. He's a perfectionist.
mm-hmm.
He's got a lot of young receivers. I mean, I know he's got Lazard, but Lazard was never his number one. Christian Watson, the guy he's the guy I wanted. He is having some issues. So, there he is. Jason's back. Jason's back.
I heard your comment about my Dolphins. Somebody sabotaged my camera. Just got wearing Dolphins gear. I know one of y'all did this. I'm gonna find who did that back in the studio. But anyway.
I want to take
It's the
credit.
Mercury retrograde. It's the Mercury retrograde. That's what it was.
I want to take credit for it, but I wouldn't do you like that. Even though you came over here with the ugly teal colors on today. That's okay.
Hey,
though.
get used to that, Jason. If you're thinking about Panama, they'll throw some brujeria on you anytime, Bruce.
Oh, y'all crazy. All right, here we go. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Now the technical glitch is solved. All right. So tonight on What's Up, Cuz, we are doing something a little bit different than what we've been doing. It's spooked again, so we'll just leave me on with Lance here for this little bit here, Sean. There's a lot going on in Chicago, and really a lot going on around the country when we're talking about violence in our streets, street violence. And it's not a racial issue, it's a society issue, but there's so many different factors that are creating these environments where we're seeing so many young people take lives and young people lose their lives due to street violence. Here in Chicago, one of our famous cases occurred back on November 20th, 1984. And that was when Ben Wilson, a prep basketball star at Simeon High School, got into an encounter down the street from the school. And the encounter turned physical, it turned violent. And as a result, Ben Wilson lost his life. Ben lost his life. The young men who were convicted of his murder, they had a price to pay. It tore the community apart. It tore the city apart. There were all sorts of laws that were passed as a result of Benji's murder, which we can look back now and say, well, was that in the best interest of everyone? It became very politicized. But the bottom line is a young man lost his life. Another young man two young men paid significant prices in their lives, being shipped off to prison and taken away from their families as well. And we understand, I want to say this before we start this interview, we understand everyone has different feelings about this. Our guest definitely understands this. He's lived it. We've been working on this interview with Billy Moore for months. We've researched this. We've vetted his stories to the fullest. And we made a decision as a show. We made a decision with the owners of Sports Zone Chicago that we wanted to go forward with this interview because we're trying to make changes. That's the whole point of this show. We're trying to make changes for the better. But we also understand everyone has a different thought process behind this. And if this is too heavy for you, it's fine. If you need to go away and come back, maybe you'll come see us next week or whatever. But we felt that this is just too important of a topic because there's so many different factors that go into this that we want to bring this guest on. We want him to talk a little bit about the incident that involved him and Ben Wilson back in 1984. But we also want to talk about the work that he is doing today, right out on the streets of Chicago, trying to mitigate some of these things that we have going on in our streets. He's been recognized by Arne Duncan, former head of Chicago Public Schools. He also worked in the Obama administration for the work that he is currently doing. So this is a painful conversation. It's a story of pain, of sorrow, of redemption, of society, of a whole lot of stuff. And I really want to reach out to him and get him to come on the show. He and I have been in a lot of contact the last week. We talked on the phone as well, and he agreed. And I'm happy he accepted the invitation to come on here. And so with that said, Billy Moore, welcome to What's Up, Cuz. Thank you for doing this, man.
Thanks, guys, for having me.
How are you?
It's a pleasure to be on your show. Looking forward to this interview.
Yeah, I am too, Billy. One of the things I did as I was researching you and vetting your story was you wrote a book that came out last year. Mm-hmm. The name of the book is Until the Lion Speaks. It came out, and it's kind of your version of your life and some of the things that led to the incident where you and Ben Wilson came together. And then unfortunately, we know what happened on that fateful day, November 20th, 1984. Tell me a little bit about what made you decide to go ahead and write this book, Until the Lion Speaks, and tell your life story in addition to the events that happened that day.
Well, when I had that unfortunate confrontation with Benji, I was 16 years old. And basically what took no more than maybe 5 minutes to unfold, which resulted in the tragic loss of Ben Wilson, kind of was the worst mistake of my life and pretty much defined me as a person to the world. The mistake that I made, it cost someone his life. And basically, as a 16-year-old person that found himself in this confrontation, like I said, it took no more than 5 minutes. And the way the narrative that was painted around the incident and the sensationalism that came with that left an impression in the minds of a lot of people of who I was as an individual. And basically 38 years later, I'm still tied to that legacy from a tragic mistake that I made at 16 years old. Unfortunately, Benji is not here because of that mistake. And the narrative around that incident was basically, like I said, what defined me as a person. And I was far more than who that 16-year-old kid was that made that mistake in that moment. Mm-hmm. I had to basically, the book is titled Until the Lion Speak, which comes from an African proverb that says the tale of the hunt will glorify the hunter until the lion speaks. And what that means is that the hunter is going to have his version of how he was, heroic and basically hunting the lion, right? And killing the lion. And the sensationalism surrounding this incident and everything that was said, it painted me, it painted this narrative around who I was as a person. And it left that type of impression that I was, just a worse human being at 16 years old. And I just made a mistake. Tragic as it was a mistake. So I felt compelled to not just talk about that unfortunate day, but to also, just give my pedigree. People can understand who I am as a person, going all the way back to my childhood, my parents, my grandparents, the things that I've been able to experience throughout life since then, and also coming home and just finding myself trying to rewrite my wrongs through the lives of other young men who were headed pretty much in the same path that I was headed down that made that mistake. So I'm far more than just that one mistake. They said that you cannot, one mistake cannot define me as a person, the perception of others definitely not going to be my reality. And I just felt compelled to tell my story in this book.
And
so people will have an understanding of who Billy Moore really is outside of the incident that took place with Benji Wilson.
Sure. And Billy, let me ask you this, because when I read the book, some of the things I really related to was where you grew up. We didn't grow up far from each other. I grew up in Chatham. You know, you were right there in like Auburn Gresham. Am I right?
Yep, Auburn Gresham, the Foster Park area.
Right there in the Foster Park area. And, you know, those were my stomping grounds a lot of times. You know, I came over there a lot. And tell me a little bit about your father, the type of person he was, because that also kind of struck me.
My father was, I would say, a first generation Northerner whose parents migrated from the South. He grew up during the time of the Civil Rights era. He was also a part of the infancy of the gang culture that was just taking root in Chicago. He was a Blackstone Ranger for a time, and then he also became a Black Panther. My father, when he was 19 years old, he conceived me with my mother, who was 16 years old. They was growing up, you know, around the 43rd, 45th Lake Park area, the low end, so to speak. And basically, you know, he had to go to work, you know, to support me. He was a young father. He got involved with the unions at his job, became a local union chief, and just taught me a lot. I had my father up until the time I was 15 years old. He was 33 years old when he unfortunately died of cancer. And this was like 14 months before the situation that took place with me and Benji. So from the time period that my father had died, that was kind of like when my path had just started deviating down the wrong way. That's when I started myself, you know, just getting pulled into, you know, the influence of the streets. You know, Chicago is what it is, you know. Mostly anybody coming up, you know, over the last 60 years has had some type of, you know, knowledge of how gang structure is within, you know, the inner cities of Chicago. And it's no different for me growing up in the early 70s, late 70s, early 80s, you know, being pulled in, you know, into that way of life. And it was right around the time when, like I said, when my father left, I really didn't have that type of that guidance to really just help direct the type of decisions I needed to be making at that time in my life. And, you know, I just found myself doing things that I shouldn't have been doing at a 15-year-old, you know, mentality. You know, from the age of 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, I was making decisions that the capacity of my mind wasn't really ready to deal with the consequences that came with those decisions.
Sure. And you know, when you and I talked over the phone, I told you about my situation as well, where I went to school. So obviously I grew up in Chatham, but I went to high school in Lindblom, which is in the heart of Inglewood. Okay. So, you know, imagine a young Black man, you're traveling from Chatham to Inglewood on the CTA every day. Incidents happen because they didn't want you coming over in Inglewood. Just is the way it was. So, you know, my classmates, some will admit, some won't. The fact that you were carrying a gun isn't something that's actually out of the normal in Chicago for teenagers, unfortunately, depending on their circumstances. Now, I never carried a gun when I was going to Lindblom, but I definitely had a blade on me. I definitely had mace on me. I definitely had brass knuckles on me. It just depended on the situation. Why? Because I had gotten jumped a few times. Our girls used to get jumped a few times. Nobody's going to keep getting jumped on. So I'm telling you this because you went to the situation with Benji, and I want you to talk about how, one, you ended up getting a gun in your hand. You admit that you were gangbanging at the time, but bring me up to how you were carrying a gun at that time, and then how you ended up pulling it out and pull the trigger.
So, you know, like you said, Chicago is what it is. You know, at any given time, you can find yourself in some situations where you feel like you need to defend yourself, right? But this particular situation, the reason why I had went up to Simeon, my cousin was a student at Simeon. a female. And she told me that the day before she was at the school store, Mr. Head's store, right up the street from Simeon, playing Miss Pac-Man or something like that. And some guy went in her purse and took some money out. And when she turned around, you know, she saw what was going on. She basically told him, man, give me my money back. He decided to put the money down in front of his pants and told her, if you want it, come get it, right? So, of course, she said, well, she going to come home. She came home and she told me, her brother, a couple of friends. So we decided to go up to Simeon and get our money back. And basically, I felt like the gun was going to be the leverage in order to help me ensure she was going to get her money back, right?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So going up there, running into a guy that I know pretty much has a lot of influence in that area, told him what happened. And he was like, don't worry about it. I know who the guy is. I deal with it, and gave her like $20. So the issue was resolved.
Okay.
So basically just up there hanging out. You know, I know a lot of people that went to Simeon. My cousins and all of them went up there, a young lady I know. So I see a young lady from around my cousin's house. I'm like, what's going on? Let's hang out. She's like, okay, cool. So around lunchtime, she comes out the building and we meet up. We walking down the street. Now, I find this out later. If you guys watch the 30 for 30, Benji, the young lady I'm speaking about, her name is Erica. She was in the same division with Benji. She knew Benji had just been put out to school because he had punched the teacher the week before that. But they was letting him come to practice. So that's why he was up at the school. And they had told him he had to leave. So he was upset. I was not aware of this. As we were walking towards the school, she knew that Benji and his girlfriend was behind us. And she heard them arguing. She went inside the school. I stayed out in front of the school. I just get pushed out the way, right? I'm talking about to the point to where I almost fell and fell into the fence that was standing next to me and this girl named Kim. As I tried to get myself together and turn around to find out who had just pushed me, because it was with great force, I was at that time, the biggest person in my life I've ever seen was walking past me. So I asked him, was he going to say, excuse me? And as he turned around, he basically told me in no uncertain terms, he wasn't offering me an apology. Mm-hmm. He wasn't that nice, you know, like.
And I'm just going to interrupt you real quick to say, yeah. Billy, every last one of us have had these confrontations in Chicago.
Yeah.
Every last one, every black dude I know who's grown up in Chicago, we've all gotten into some sort of confrontation. Somebody stepped on your shoe. Somebody was looking at you the wrong way. Somebody did this. So up until this point, nothing that you have told us is completely out of the ordinary in Chicago, whether it's 1984 or 2022. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so basically I don't know if I can curse on this show, but he basically just turned around and said, fuck you. I ain't giving you no excuse. Now what? Mm-hmm. So it was from that point on, it was a battle of wits, or you know, it was
or egos.
Yeah, it was the way I look at it as a 54-year-old man looking back at my 16-year-old self and getting into the head of a 17-year-old kid like Benji. You know, it was just one of those situations where, you know, it was some hyper masculinity, you know, ego, you know, on the line. I didn't know who Benji was. Like, this ain't the days of social media where everybody in the world know who LeBron James is coming out of high school, right? Mm-hmm. I just knew he was a tall dude who was basically aggressive, and I felt like he was bullying me, right? And, you know, I am who I am. I'm not about to just accept it, you know what I'm saying, or stand down, right? So emotionally and socially, both of us lack the skills to really deal with this situation in the moment, because you have people standing around. Yeah. And when the one thing I know about young black men who are still in search of their identity, you tend to allow how the perception of other people will define you and become your reality. So you can't leave certain impressions in people's minds, right, of how you deal with a moment. So basically, we in our feelings and we trying to stand our ground. And Benji ain't bagging down, and I'm not bagging down. He basically not offering no excuse me, and I'm at this point demanding one. And that's when it becomes more than just a push. you know, the shove is about to lead to something physical, right? Because at this point, you know, he's basically unzipping his jacket like, what's up? And his girl is trying to pull him away. And I'm seeing that ain't no winning a fight with this dude. Like, he a giant. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I have, you know, that element of surprise, so to speak. So I'm figuring that if he just see the gun, he gonna bag down. So I unzip my jacket just to show him, hey man, I got a gun, you know, like, and he does his reaction is totally the opposite of what I think it would be. He see the gun, he like, oh man, what you gonna do? You gonna shoot me? Well, come on with it. And this is when he just basically gets very aggressive. His girl start getting, you know, hysterical when she see the gun and she trying to pull him away. And basically he just snatches away from her and runs up on me. And he only leaves me enough time to pull the gun out and shoot him twice. And that's basically how fast it took place, you know. And we know from that moment on how that situation ended up.
We do. And again, we understand this is some difficult stuff for people to listen to. We think it's important that we go through this because these situations are happening every day in Chicago, New York, Detroit, Atlanta, Los Angeles, Houston, Nashville, Charleston, South Carolina, you name it. This is going on. And we're going to get into this, the meat of this, as it deals with Black men and controlling our emotions and our anger and some of the work that you're doing with this now. But I want to bring my cousin in a little bit, but I also want to preview that. I mean, I've talked to you before about this, Billy, and Lance's oldest brother, my cousin Byron, he and Benji were good friends, played against each other. Byron played at Julian, Benji played at Simeon. And again, you know, we have family ties to Benji's. And so this is not an easy conversation that Lance and I are having with you either. It took us a while to get to this point, but I just want to preview that before Lance, you jump in here. It's all yours, Gus. You on mute. You muted yourself.
Me now?
Yep, got you.
First of all, I appreciate you being on the show, Billy. And I know this is a tough situation for everybody. And I know it's hard for you to come on the show. Like Jason said, I was a personal friend of Benji. He was like a brother to my older brother, so he's like my brother too. And I know the situation, we all wish it would have ended up a different situation. But one thing that you said is that a search for their identity, a search for your identity going back then. At that time, I know you understand your father. You must have been into some pain. What, looking back, if you could have did something differently, what would you have done differently at that particular point in time?
I think it's a few things, Brother Lance, I would have done differently, understanding just the magnitude of what situations like that can lead to. I wouldn't have had a gun on me first and foremost, because what I've learned is that when you carry guns, you get gun problems, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you will have, I think having a gun, you will be presented in your mind with 20 more reasons why you should use it than not having a gun, because I think people act different when they got a gun, right? They may find, you know, maybe 2-3 good reasons how to walk away from an incident, but then with a gun, you got 20 different reasons why you think you should use it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think, you know, that's the beginning of this whole situation, not having that gun, because guess what? Had I not had a gun, more than likely, Benji probably would have still been here today. He'd probably been in the Hall of Fame, whatever the case may have been, right? And hopefully I would have still been alive, thriving. I probably wouldn't be doing the work I'm doing. I don't know what I'd have been doing. But we know that situation probably wouldn't happen that day. And I think when we talk about identity is that a lot of times we find ourselves as young men, especially young Black men, right? Like you said, I had just lost my father. So I was still searching for the type of right answers I needed to guide my decisions. You know what I'm saying? At the time of my life where I'm just starting to understand the world for what it is as a young Black man, you know, having, just all kind of things you're dealing with, right? And I think it may be the same for Benji. Like, he was definitely the number one basketball player in the nation. But, I know he was probably living up under all kind of pressures as well. People pulling him. And for a 17-year-old kid to have that type of pressure on him, and we still trying to understand and find validation within ourselves as young Black men, who we are, especially growing up, like you said, Jason, in the city of Chicago, always finding ourselves challenged, right? By the institution and cultural structure of what how we live in, the circumstances that we come up in, trying to prove ourselves as young warriors. You know what I'm saying? Because most people think that coming up in Chicago at that time, you had to be a certain type of way. Benji wasn't no punk. He couldn't have been being a number one ball player in the country. You know what I'm saying? You don't be a punk by obtaining that type of status, right? And just growing up in the street, you can't allow yourself to be punked out. So it's almost like a rhino and elephant standing off with each other. It's like, who gonna win? Especially when that young rhino and young elephant don't really understand, who they are as individuals and the type of power that they have, or the type of consequences that they facing by misusing, you know what I'm saying? The power they ain't even realize that's gonna manifest in them.
That's why the work that you're doing now is so important. Just last week, like Jason said, it was a situation at the school where I work. Somebody stepped on somebody's shoe, exact same situation that you said, and the two young men were about to fight. I'm like, hold on now. It's ways that we handle situation. That's why when I read what you were doing, I was happy to see what you were doing, because we need mentorship these days. We need people to tell their stories, and we need people to help our youth these days, because there's a lot going on. And you said it's 16 or 17. That's a lot of pressure these days. It's pressure just going out the house for some people. It's pressure just knowing where you're going to get your next meal from. Yeah. So that right there, that's why I'm glad you're doing what you're doing to help the youth out.
The one lesson that I learned, just in my life is that, when we confronted with crisis, right? Mm-hmm. The one thing that we kind of resort to help us through those crises is the weakest attribute that we have, which is our emotions, right? We forsake the greatest attribute that we was given, which is our ability to think. Mm-hmm. And once we learn how to start dealing with crisis from the mindset of thinking our way out of it, reacting to our feelings, we will find ourselves having less regrets, right? Especially regrets that can be so detrimental, not to just yourself, but in this case, the entire community, someone's life, because Benji death, trust me, I understand the effect and the impact that had on the city of Chicago. I'm gonna be honest, had this never happened between me and Benji, right? Just to see him make it, how could I not have been a fan? You know what I'm saying? Him coming from the town, you know what I'm saying? In Chicago, it's just like Michael Jordan coming to the city of Chicago. You know what I'm saying? Like he became the adopted son of Chicago. Everybody is a fan. They come, that came up during that era watching Jordan play. So, this was an unfortunate incident that took place. I hate that it happened. I wish the outcome would have been different. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to be responsible. Unfortunately, I am, for some young man who basically had the opportunity and the way out that so many of us want, but never will realize. That's a one in a million, dream.
Without doubt.
Only so many ever get a chance to realize. I got a friend of mine, 40-year friend of mine, and this brother ended up winning the heavyweight champion of the world, Doc Nicholson. I don't know if you guys
he was on the show.
We had him on the show.
That's my friend, 40 years. We grew up together. And I tell Doc all the time, I say, bro, you did something that don't too many people get a chance to do. You won the heavyweight title. How many people in the history of the world can say they the heavyweight champion?
That's right.
You did that. You know what I'm saying?
That's exactly.
And you know how I would feel if somebody took him away from me? before
Right.
he had the opportunity to achieve his goal.
Right.
So I understand the impact.
Sure.
You
And
know,
that was the next question I was getting ready to ask you too, Billy, is how are you received in Chicago circles?
oh man, I think with as much respect, you know, as I give, you know, I've never had so I had an opportunity to actually sit down with Benji's two younger brothers, Jeffrey Wilson and Anthony Wilson. This was actually 2 years ago, to the day of the unfortunate death of Benji, right? November 20th, 2020, right? 36 years ago. And we're approaching that day, you know, within 2 weeks. And we had an opportunity to reconcile. I had done my time, you know. I felt like if those brothers wanted to talk to me and hear me tell them what they needed to hear, then I had to, you know, be obligated to that, right? Because at one time I just wanted people to forgive me for the mistake I made. And now I have an opportunity to reconcile with his two younger brothers. I had did my time, you know, but the work I'm doing, I got to teach young men how to reconcile. You know, that's my best form of retaliation is through reconciliation. And if I had this opportunity to sit across the table and talk to these men, that they gave me that opportunity, I did that. And I have no problems with those brothers. And everybody who I've met that know Benji personally, that I got a chance to really talk to, you know, years later, understanding, you know, how we were back then to the men we are today, I have no problem with any of those brothers. I'm reading one of the comments, you know, was I ever threatened when I was incarcerated? I've never had an issue about being who, you know, the person for being, you know, going to jail for Benji in jail. Like, you got to understand how jail is. You know what I'm saying? Like, people got their own reasons for being in jail. They don't care about why I was in jail. You know what I'm saying? You know, I mean, you got people that was in jail doing time with people that victimize people and, you know, family members and stuff like that. That's stuff that happen on the street. They don't carry over into prison. So I never had, the only issues I had in jail was from the guards, county jail, you know, that I had dealt with, you know what I'm saying, because of that situation. I've never been threatened or never had any type of issue with any man based off the situation that took place with me and Benji.
And again, Billy, I want people to really read the book. Sean, can we put the photo of the book back up? Because you do discuss all this. You discuss about what it was like in the county jail and the COs really coming after you and the stuff that happened to you, not by, like you said, the people who were in with you, but from the COs. And also, the other question I wanted to ask you, and just full disclosure, I have a really good friend who was in the same correctional facility as Billy. He knows of Billy, but does not know him personally. And he vouched for Billy, which was another reason made me comfortable with doing this interview and just saying what you learned, specifically when you were down the Illinois River, Billy. You can tell him kind of what skill you took on, that you had to go to prison to get this skill, which it should be available to you while you're out as a free citizen.
It was a few skills I learned. I got a work ethic. I had a job that I maintained for like 11 years. You know what I'm saying? Working in the bakery. I got my college degree in Illinois River, my associate's degree, and I'm actually 6 weeks away from getting my bachelor's degree at Southern New Hampshire University. I'm doing an online course. So I'm proud of that. I'm wrapping that up. I had initially, people don't know this. Well, people do know this who know me. My own son was murdered.
Yep.
In 2017.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So here's the thing about my situation coming full circle with that. You know, when I went to jail for Benji, you know, I felt the energy from the public, right? And how, you know, disappointed and hurt and angry they were towards me. I felt that. And I felt disappointed in myself for having to be responsible for another human life being taken away. That's a weight that I have to carry with me, right? My grandmother told me at some point you got to forgive yourself, and I've learned to forgive myself. But I know that one day when I face the Creator, I may have to speak and answer to that. So I carry that with me. So I was determined to try to save as many lives as I could possibly save. That probably will never make up for the one life that I'm responsible for not being here. And that's why I do the work that I do. But I always felt like the 20 years that I did was not enough for the crime that I committed. I always felt like it was going to be some type of sacrifice. And I was fortunate enough to have a son, my only child. And he was murdered, July 6, 2017, shot 16 times sitting in a car, mistaken identity. And I think at the moment that I found out that he was dead, I felt like that was the sacrifice that I had to give. And whoever was responsible for that, I immediately extended forgiveness in my heart to them, because I knew those young men who were responsible for killing my son, they were caught up in the same cycle of ignorance that I was caught up in, which led me to do what I did, back in 1984 when Benji unfortunately lost his life. So I understand the full capacity of my actions when it comes to a loved one being taken away from you, as a result of gun violence. Someone being murdered close to you. They leave home that day, you think they coming back, and you get a call that they never coming back. And I understand the grief that I inflicted on the Wilson family, his friends, because I feel that personally. And I had to tell Jeffrey Wilson that, he thought that during this conversation of our reconciliation that I was in a state of denial. And I was telling him, hey, brother, you can look next to you and you got another brother sitting right there. I say, so I got a son that ain't never coming back, my only son. That's the end of my bloodline right there, So you can't tell me I'm in a state of denial. I don't understand what you're feeling. And I think at that moment, he kind of realized where I was at with that. And that's when we were able to embrace. So I understand the grief of a lost family member due to gun violence, the same grief that I inflicted on somebody, and I couldn't think about any type of retribution or retaliation. I just knew in my heart I had to forgive those people who done that. And they didn't never seek out forgiveness. They never arrested anybody. But I can sleep good at night knowing that, in my heart, I am a forgiving person, because that was the only thing I ever wanted. If I could not forgive them, I would be a hypocrite asking people to forgive me. And I can never work with the young men who I know who are at risk of killing somebody and being a victim of gun violence by telling them to do something totally different than what I did. If the only thing I could think about was killing the people that killed my son.
Now, Lance, I think about, the jobs you've had, and I know one of the things you did when you were at Harper. Were you the disciplinarian at Harper?
Yeah, I did some dean work over there too.
Yeah, did some dean work over at Harper. So you and Billy are actually both kind of working with the same population right now, that at-risk population of young Black men in the communities of Chicago. And I guess this question I have is really for both of you. Billy, what are you seeing in 2022 with the work that you're doing now that is still the same stuff that was going on in 1984 in terms of that same type of environment? And Lance, how do you go about, obviously you have more of an academic background than Billy does and more training in dealing with this stuff. Billy is coming more from a street angle and some life skills. How do both of you all go about trying to get through these young men to use their minds to solve problems and not resort to the actions based off of their emotions?
You know what? I think your experiences sometimes are the best teacher, and stuff that you see and stuff that you witness. And then you figure out, hey, how can I help people? And the one thing, Billy, I was just going to put it back to you on is this. You held yourself accountable for your actions. Sometimes people don't want to do that. And I'm gonna change the question, Jason, because
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
When did you get to that point, Billy, where you said, "Hey, I gotta hold myself accountable for my actions"? Did that help in your healing process? Because at some point in time, you have to heal from what you did. And I'm listening to you, and I'm like, I can understand where you're coming from.
To answer your question first, Lance, it started the moment I got arrested, because I realized at 16 years old, where I was going wasn't a place for no kids. I had to grow up instantly. And I know in order to be a man, I had to be accountable for what I had done. I couldn't run from that. If anybody ever remember just the coverage of them leading us,
Yeah.
you know, I held my head up. I couldn't hide from what I had did. You know, I wasn't trying to be tough or anything like that. I just had to be, you know, man enough to just be responsible for what I had done. You know, I knew what I had done was wrong. I knew, you know, carrying a gun was wrong. And I had found myself in a position. I knew at that point, like I said, you carry guns, you get gun problems. I got a gun problem. And I had to pay for what I had done, right? I was praying that the brother wouldn't pass away. And unfortunately, he ended up, you know, having to, you know, he died, you know, and I had to deal with that and I had to pay for that. And I understood my responsibility and role in that. To answer your question, Brother Jason, you know, when I'm working with these young men, you know, I don't try to always, and you're right, Lance, I think experience, you know, they tell you that, you know, experience is the best teacher, right? And I do agree with you, but only to an extent to where you don't always have to learn a lesson
the hard way.
Great point. Yeah.
You know, I want to stand in the gap. Look at me. I done already made the mistake.
Right.
And I'm telling you what the consequences are. So if you can learn from somebody else's experience, it's far greater wisdom and less consequences.
Yes.
Less suffering that you're going to have to do.
Yes.
And hopefully I can be more of a credible messenger that you can believe me without having to bump your head, because a lot of these guys done bump their head.
Yeah.
You know it hurt. So you need to tell them, but you don't want to bust your head wide open like I did, because you may not come back from that.
Exactly.
You may not get a chance like me to come back. This will be 38 years in 2 weeks and be able to talk about this. You know what I'm saying? You may end up spending the rest of your life in prison. And you may not live that long to be able to grow into the person that you can become. Because guess what? 38 years ago, this is what I got to say to anybody who is still harboring resentment towards me from 38 years ago. You harboring resentment towards a person who don't exist, a 16-year-old kid, right? Now, it's easy for people to say, well, you know what? Benji ain't here, though. Your actions 38 years ago, you know what I'm saying, is a result of that. And I understand that. I don't, you know, that's why I'm on this show. You know, I'm not running from that, right? But what I'm saying is, who today is the same person they was 38 years ago? Why would you still be holding certain thoughts from a 16-year-old, 17-year-old heart, mind, as a 50-some-year-old person? You know what I'm saying? That we really trying to save more young men so they don't have to make the mistakes that Billy and Benji made. You know what I'm saying? Or end up Benji and Billy ended up, you know. So we ain't got time to be, you know, holding these resentments from 38 years ago when we still got so many young brothers out here that we need to be touching and saving. I'm gonna tell you about a story, and I talked about it in my book. It's so easy to cast judgment from people who ain't willing to help. I was rolling up on some young guys one day, just riding down the street about to go pick my granddaughter up from school. And I knew she wanted something to eat, so she wanted some Popeyes. So I got her some Popeyes. I was 75th and Stony, right? Y'all know that, right? You can't go back on Stony coming out the parking lot to go north because it's an island.
Right.
So I go up Blackstone, the next block going west. And as I'm rolling up Blackstone, I see like 4 little dudes standing in the middle of the block. And as I'm rolling up, I got tents on my window. So they
Right.
looking like, man, here they come, right? Oh man, by the time I get up on these young guys, they all done pulled out guns, big guns. And I'm saying to myself, okay, this may be the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was fortunate enough to be able to drive past the guys. I didn't lose my cool. I didn't make no sudden move. I ain't rolled my windows down so they could see me or none of that, right? And they had speed bumps on the street. So I rolled through. But as I got to the end of the block, I had a thought. I said, okay, now what you gonna do? Because these young guys is the same age you was,
Mm-hmm.
in the same position you was, ready to go spend the rest of their life in prison or get killed or kill some little girl. You're going to go home on the news. You heard about baby and got hit by a straight bullet on the spot. What you going to do? Because every time we hear about little kids, innocent people getting shot or whatever the case may be in Chicago, the first thing we think about, man, somebody need to do something about that.
Mm-hmm.
Who is that somebody? In this moment, it was me, right?
Right.
Because I know what road they headed down. So I say, well, I'm not about to call the police. So that's not an option. I can't keep going because anything can happen. I'm gonna have to live with that. I got to go back and talk to these young guys. And the one thing I learned a long time ago, I'm not afraid of my people because I got too much love in my heart for my people to be scared of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I go back. I bend the corner. I come back, windows down. They standing in between the house and the building, right? They not on the street, on the block, but they right there. So I'm like, hey, man, can I holler at y'all? And they still got that, they posturing. They like, what? I'm like, man, I come in peace, man. Can I talk to y'all? So I see that, that suit, that mask come off their face. They like, okay, what's up, old school? I said, man, can I park? Yeah. Now I know all these guys got guns. Big
They
guns.
all strapped.
That's right.
They got big guns, extended clips, and everything, right? I'm talking about they got their guns tricked out like you trick a cow. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, I asked them how old they was. They was like 15, 17, and 18. It was 4 of them, right? So I tell them, man, like, listen, I don't know what's going on, what y'all into, or what's on y'all, or who y'all on. I say, but I'm gonna tell you this, man. I got love for you brothers, and I don't want to see y'all end up like I did. I told them just like this, man, Google me, and you know I ain't lying to you. Mm-hmm. What y'all doing, that man gonna end you up in jail for the rest of your life. And I told the little brother, you 15 years old, man. I say, have you really been with a woman? You ready to go spend the rest of your life in jail, man? You ain't even really understood what it's like to be with a woman. So, man, you're gonna spend the rest of your life in jail, in the jail cell, 23 hours a day, toilet flush every 15 minutes. You know what I'm saying? And they're gonna give you 80 years for killing somebody. You're gonna be 95 years old before you come home. You're not gonna live that long under those conditions.
Mm-hmm.
I say, I love y'all, man, and I don't want to see the wrong thing. You guys end up doing the wrong thing and you spend the rest of your life in prison. And what I did when I left, I didn't go home and I didn't hear about nobody getting shot and killed on that block. I've been back on that block 20 times and never seen those little dudes again in life. But I know what the one thing I learned is that you can't measure the success of a conversation because people walk away with things that you say and you never know how to influence them. If you never see them again, right? You never know what you said today may be the thing that turns that switch on in their mind when they walk away from you and they live their life different.
Right.
Or they confronted with a situation because you took time to talk to them. They had the right answer at a moment, and you never know that. So you can never judge the success of a conversation. So if you ask me to come on the show, yeah, I'm going to come. I'm going to talk, because you extended the courtesy to hear what I had to say. At one point, then nobody want to hear what I had to say,
Man,
And
Billy, I want to put this quote up. It's from you. It's from you. I found this one. And it says, before you pull the trigger, go in the bathroom, sit down, and imagine spending the rest of your life there, because that's what risk you're taking.
Yeah.
I thought it was very powerful when I saw that. And it gets to what you were speaking of earlier. A lot of times we're making decisions off of our emotions. We're not thinking. My favorite song by Ice-T is with his Lethal Weapon. And the verse it says, "My lethal weapon is my mind." Now here's Ice-T, a known gangster. But even he is saying, your most lethal weapon is your mind. It's not the gun. It's not a knife. It's not none of that other stuff, bravado bullshit that we're doing out here. It's your mind. And, I think the one thing, Billy, I wanted you to speak on too, you brought it up a little bit when you spoke to the 15-year-old guy and said, brother, you ain't never even really been with a woman. You ain't never really been with a woman. And, this destructive behavior we're doing is affecting our women because we're not around. And you spoke about that in the book, how you couldn't really be there for your son. But we're also seeing now, Billy, and I want you to talk a little bit about this in your work. We're starting to see some of our sisters, unfortunately, taking on some of this bravado behavior. They're out here doing some of this carjacking. They're out here doing some of this robbing. They're out here doing some of this shooting. There was a sister just got arrested the other day on the news who stabbed and killed her boyfriend. Can you talk a little bit about the violence we're seeing from sisters now?
I mean, I think when you have the brothers out here who are supposed to be, the protectors and the providers and the strength of the community, that then feel victim and so in so many ways, have become weak, to the circumstances in which we live on, how can it not have an adverse effect over the women within our community who really, women, they the real strength of the family. They nurture the kids, they raise us, they take care of us, right? But they cannot be as strong as they need to be without, that man being there to balance out and take care of their responsibility. You know what I'm saying? By being protectors and providers, right? You have a lot of sisters that you hear in the news getting killed, right? Beautiful young women, like, man, and you see they were targeted, right? Because they didn't get pulled off into stuff where they setting dudes up, and you know what I'm saying? It's just the culture of today's youth is so savagery. You know what I'm saying? And women, unfortunately, are being pulled into it. Now, think about what I talked about, young men trying to find their identity as young males growing up. A lot of young men not having real positive male role models in their life. They're not, having fathers raising them. They, young women are also having a lack of that same presence, so they don't have a real sense of who they are, their identities, right? And then when you got women raising men, you got female tendencies that's governing that male energy. That's why you got so many emotional cats out here. And then you got women who just don't have a lack of respect for just themselves and anybody else, because the whole dynamic of our family structure has been fractured. It's been decimated. You know what I'm saying? And it's systematic, and unfortunately our women are just as messed up out here as the young men. You know what I'm saying? We need more people to come in and just try to mentor our young people, to just try to live right, be good examples, but unfortunately it's touching our entire community. The young men, the young women, the kids, everybody is being affected, and the one, somebody told me the hardest thing to change is culture.
Yep.
Well said.
Yeah, and the culture right now, bro, when you go on Instagram, our sisters just showing everything. You know what I'm saying? It's like, they selling themselves for likes. You know what I'm saying? And they just trying to live up to what they think, like I say, the culture expect from them, and that's not what we expect from our women. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to do better. We got to be better example of men, and hopefully our women can appreciate that and be better examples as young women.
Billy, I'm glad you touched on the social media aspect, because too much you see oftentimes on reality TV, it's reality TV. And I think a lot of people get caught up. Okay, she just threw a bottle at this person. No, it's life is more than that, right? Some of this stuff is pure fake. But
Yeah.
talk to me about the organization you with, Billy, and what led you to go there. I know you met Arnie Duncan. So talk to us about the organization, something too.
So I started initially working for this organization called Iman, the Inner City Muslim Action Network. And
Okay.
they're located in the West Line, around 63rd in California, but they do a lot of work in Inglewood.
Okay.
The way I got my job with them, I was initially working for this organization called the Safer Foundation, which works with young men, with men coming from prison.
Okay.
I was a client of the Safer Foundation, and I did so well with their support, I ended up getting a job, and I worked for them close to 12 years. Due to funding, I lost my job at Safer. And Arnie Duncan, when he came back to Chicago, Arnie was all about just trying to, address the issue of violence reduction in Chicago. Because as the CEO of CPS, Arnie said he lost a student every 2 weeks. And he felt like he failed a lot of parents because of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he wanted to start, a violent reduction organization in Chicago to see if we can get these homicides down. And the organization that I work with initially, Arnie's organization, wasn't doing direct services. They was just funding organizations that had already existed that was doing some of the work,
Okay.
but to help scale them so that they can be more impactful. So when I worked for Iman, they had a department that wasn't as big as it became under the support of Chicago CRED, that's Arnie's organization.
Mm-hmm.
But when he started to fund them, he wanted them to start working with young guys from 18 to 25. And they were only working with older guys coming from prison. So he agreed, and that's how I got my job at Iman. I worked for Iman for 3 years as the lead life coach over there, working with 18 to 25-year-old guys. And literally when I got my job, 2 weeks before I got my job is when my son was killed. So I had my first day at work was my son's funeral. I couldn't go. They was like, wow, I said, it's my son's funeral. And the executive director of Iman, Rami Nashashibi, was like, well, listen, if you want to defer and just go ahead and agree yourself, I said, I'll be there Monday morning. Because I knew I had to get in front of these young guys just like my son, right? Mm-hmm. And this was the way I was going to help grieve by working with these young men, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I worked with them for 3 years. So you could say I really worked with Arnie starting then, but it was under the organization of Iman that they was funding.
Okay.
But I got to meet Arnie. So I met Arnie right after I got my job at Chicago CRED at a peace march that Father Flager had at St. Sabina. Everybody knows Father Mike,
mm-hmm.
right? And the work that he's doing. Father Mike is a wonderful individual, right? So Arnie, I didn't know at the time, he found out that I was working for Iman, right? And him and Benji were friends.
Mm-hmm.
They grew up together playing ball. Arnie, everybody know Arnie. Arnie's a ball player.
Arnie love basketball.
Man,
and he can, love it.
He can hoop, right?
He can still shoot that ball too. I shot with him about 5 months ago. I was like, Arnie, man, dang, you still can shoot that ball.
Arnie will take somebody lunch money, man. So, in that peace march, me and Arnie talked, and we went over the situation, and he was basically like, man, Billy, I'm glad you're working with us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of years ago, I just came to work directly for Chicago CRED. I work as the alumni coordinator. I work with all the young men who've been through the program and throughout the city of Chicago, continue to support these guys in their effort and their transformational change. And Arnie basically is a person who, man, I got love for Arnie. Arnie heart is in the right place. Arnie is doing something that is definitely needed in the city of Chicago. Since CRED started in 2016, we have been able to work with over 500 young men. Every year, these young men, we just had a graduation back in August where 60 young men graduated, got their high school diplomas. These guys didn't think they was going to finish school before they got involved with us. It's not easy, man, because in these 5 years of working with Chicago CRED Iman, I've lost 11 young men I've also lost my nephew
Wow.
on Memorial Day. But I've worked with over 150 young men. And although I've worked with over 150 young men, those 11 guys, they hurt.
Those are the ones you remember.
Man, because I had so much investment in them, and they knew me. I love these guys. I love all my guys, right? I think that's the one thing that I haven't talked about. The secret ingredient to working with these young men is love, bro.
Man.
Like, you know, I could tell you can see me with my guys right now, and I tell them, man, I love you, man. They're gonna tell me they love you back with no type of hesitation or anything, you know. And that's something that we unapologetically, that's the culture we start. We start with love. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We offer these guys life coaching. These guys got a clinician. Everybody have a therapist. And it's crazy because, you know, that was a stigma with young men, you know,
True.
Black men especially. Man, I don't need to see no therapist. I ain't crazy. All our guys have a therapist because we working to unpack trauma, man, because at the heart of their issues is trauma. You know, they dealing with things that all kind of shit that happened to them in their life. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that's why they so angry. You know what I'm saying? And it's a space that we provide for healing. You know, we consider ourselves wounded healers, right? Because, you know, you done heard the saying, hurt people, right?
Yep.
Right.
But, you know, heal people can help people to heal too. So, you know, that's the work we doing, man. It's hard work. It's God's work, you know, and there's love is at the root of it, man. And that's the work that I do. So if anybody want to judge Billy Moore, you know, you got a right to judge me for what I did in 1984. But, man, if you don't know my harvest, bro, you know what I'm saying? Understand my seed, you know what I'm saying? And then you'll see what I'm reaping. So it's like, judge me for what I'm doing today, you know. See me for the man that stands before you today. You know, because at some point we done all made mistakes. Mine's is just for public record. You know what I'm saying?
Because you know what, Billy? Because last year when Jason first talked about you, I was like, nah, I'm probably not ready for that, Jay. But then the more I started thinking, the more I started praying about it, I'm like, who am I to judge you? I said, at the end of the day, you have a story and you have a testimony. Then I start reading, do more research, because it takes a heck of a man to sit down and talk to somebody's family about what went on and what happened to you. And you out here working hard. So, man, shout out to you, because I said, like kind of like you said, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. Everybody needs to tell their story. So at the end of the day, I'm glad Jason was like, man, because like you said, we talked about this last year. We talked about it weeks ago, and Jason said your book is a really good book. And I promise you, I'm going to go out and read the book because I'm a reader. And at the end of the day, we all have a story to tell. And I like the work that you're doing because, like I said earlier, everybody needs help. And it's tough finding somebody that can give you, that can be a good mentor to you. Because oftentimes, a lot of these people, like you said, especially young Black men, they need love. They need somebody to say, hey, I love you. I care about you. Listen to them and say, hey, Jay, because a lot of stuff is in the communication aspect too, Jay.
Yeah, and how we say stuff,
right? Yeah, you got to say it, and you got to be able to reach the young men where they are. And you can't be a hypocrite and judge them for some of the things that they're going through. Everybody has a story. Everybody is dealing with stuff.
It is.
And meet them where they are. Go ahead, cuz.
And it is. And Billy, I want to ask you this, and we appreciate, again, once again, you doing this interview today. And it's just one more thing I want to bring up that you mentioned in the book. You've admitted that you were in a gang. We know Chicago's got a long gang history going back to Al Capone and everybody else, you know. But one of the experiences you had during your incarceration is what I want to talk to you about. There's been a lot of controversy in terms of when the federal law enforcement took down the gang leaders in Chicago, splintered the gangs. Some people say it made the situation worse. Back in the 80s, when I was in high school, I kind of knew who was GD, who was BD, who was Latin King. I knew by how they were wearing their hat. I knew by how this is. Now, you like, I don't know who the hell is who's shooting at somebody, who bad at somebody. So you kind of like walking in the middle of something. But I bring that up because one of the people who you met, if I'm not mistaken, was your interaction with Hoover, with Larry Hoover, with Chairman Hoover.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that and what his message was to you as that young man coming into the penal system?
Yeah, I say it like this. It's an oxymoron. It was unfortunate that I met Larry Hoover, but it was very fortunate that I met Larry Hoover. And the reason why I say unfortunate is because it was under the circumstances of me coming into prison to meet him. But fortunate enough for him to be able to present something different from the perception I had of him, before meeting him, in the street, Larry Hoover was the king, right? And he was this, we all trying to live up to, we Larry Finest, right? We doing all this dumb shit, right? And to understand him as the person that he was when I met him, the first thing he asked me was, what was I gonna do? And before I got a chance to tell him what I was gonna do, he said, I'm gonna tell you what you're gonna do. You're gonna go to school, you're gonna stay out of trouble, because I'm tired of seeing young guys like you just coming up in here wasting your life away. And that was the message that I got from him, right? And I took heed to that. And, sometimes you have a perception of people that you don't know, you just know of them, and you create this image around that perception. You know what I'm saying? And then you ever get a chance to meet that person, either one or two things gonna happen. Either they're gonna live up to that perception. No, it could be three things. They can live up to that perception, they can live under that perception, or they can live over that perception, right? And he lived up over that perception. And I found to have so much more respect for the person of who he actually was that redefined the perception of him that I had in my mind. And I just want to say, I just hope that, the old man get a chance to finally win his freedom, because he's been held responsible, for all kind of stuff that he had nothing to do with, just the legacy of gangster discipleism in Chicago. He's going to catch all that. You know what I'm saying? He don't know, like you said, you got so much chaos in these cliques out here and all these groups. The work that I do in North Lawndale, we have identified like 40 different groups.
40 factions.
You know what I'm saying? And like you said, back in the day, we knew who was who. We know 40 different groups, right? There was 5 different top groups, and that's it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That encompass the masses, right? You got 40 different groups, and each little group may have no more than 20 guys, right? But they causing havoc because there's no one that has really laid down a foundation or a structure in order for them to really follow. I'm not gonna lie, as much as gang life has a negative connotation, it had a lot that offered young black men coming up back then that we couldn't find nowhere else. Like, you was taught love, life, loyalty, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, right? And to understand what those principles was, if you was really serious about being about it, you tried to learn about these things, right? And you walked away with some type of, principle, some type of foundation. Now that could be debated, from a negative standpoint, but that has carried a lot of men right now today, of how they see themselves operating even within corporate structures. You know what I'm saying? Like, what did I do with these young men? I sit down and I say, hey man, come on, it's time, we're gonna talk. Hey, one mic. We're going to develop our norms. We're going to put up here, everybody got to agree that this is how we're going to govern this space, right? And this is how we find some type of conformity, you know what I'm saying? And how we get and connect with these young guys, you know what I'm saying? It ain't got shit to do with being a gang member, but it's how we used to operate when we was trying to learn how to be disciplined about what we believed in and what our mission and what our vision was, you know what I'm saying? It ain't no different than, Alpha, Omega, Qs. It ain't no different than the police. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants to be a part of something. If you play ball, you know what I'm saying? It was a team, so it's just a fraternity aspect of especially young black men coming from circumstances where a lot of us didn't have fathers. You know what I'm saying? Or anybody to look up to, unless now, you know, a lot of brothers that say, well, you know, I didn't have a father, my mother raised me, right?
Yeah.
And I challenged them to say, but you know, you had somebody
Uncles.
had a
Mhm.
influence in your life. If it was a coach, a teacher,
A
a
scout
big
master.
brother,
Yeah.
I don't know, look, no normal little boy who tell you he want to look up to his mom and be like her.
Mhm. Mhm.
You point one out that's normal, right?
Right.
Or I would say, you know,
Mhm.
heterosexual. Every little boy is looking for some man to
Yeah.
look up to pattern.
Some male figure. That's right.
Absolutely. You know, and a lot of us found it in the GDs, Vice Lords, Stones. You know, that's what a lot of us had to find that image at, whether it was right or wrong. You know what I'm saying? Now we got to give our young men something better to look towards, to model themselves after, because it's not in that no more. You know what I'm saying? Like you just said, these young guys, they so peer led. The big homie ain't no more than 2-3 years older than them, and
Right.
just as, you know, backwards in they thinking as they are. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, we got to develop some institutions within our community, man, that's based on something that's real positive. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I don't want it to be a violence reduction organization, because we working to help these young men learn how not to kill each other. But at some point we got to get back
To the next level.
where, yeah, we can develop institutions where, you know, it's about, okay, young brother, we got a scholarship for you. You going through school, we mentoring you through you know, throughout high school, you gonna go to college. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It ain't always got to be on a sports athletic scholarship. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So we got to get back to, you know, creating some real solid, you know, positive fraternity type of foundations within our community for our young black boys. You know what I'm
Without
saying?
a doubt. Without a doubt. And I mean, our producer Sean, he's worked as a coach at Curie High School. He's worked with a population. Lance, you know, he's a longtime coach. I've coached young men from a challenged demographic. We all have done it in our own way. We all know the impact. And Billy, there's still two, David Thomas and Myron Thomas, two of my former players who I lost to Chicago violence. I'll never forget it. Damn these trophies that you see behind me. Yeah, we won them as a team, but I'd give all this shit back to get them two lives back.
Absolutely.
And, you know, we use the sports to do the work, to keep them focused and producing men. I'm kind of out of questions. I don't know what my cousin has.
You know what, you know, I always got to ask a different type question. Billy, could you do me a favor? Could you ask my cousin why he can't come on to interview you with those ugly colors he have on?
Hey, listen.
I mean, at least I have on a button-up shirt.
He been killing my eyes all day. He rubbing it in from yesterday.
Man, Billy, like that Billy, that was disrespectful to you, Billy. He was disrespectful to you today, Billy.
Listen, yesterday I was so pissed off because they called that pass interference against Jackson, and then turned right around and let Miami get away with that one, which gave them the game.
I'm glad you brought that up, Billy. See, that's a great point. Talk about that, cousin Jason.
Oh, man.
Talk about that.
I didn't see that.
You ain't see it, huh?
I ain't see it.
The ref didn't see it either.
No. Billy, I told him to come on here disrespectful. See, Billy's a Bears fan. He's a Chicagoan. Not disrespectful to the Bears.
Yeah,
no, he's not.
I thought this dude, you had me on the show because we were some Chicago dudes, man. You around here false flagging.
so
Billy, I get a pumpkin head. I keep false flagging. I watch
let
myself.
Let me ask you this, Billy. For the viewers that want to find you, where can they find you and give them some information how they can get in touch with you?
You know, I'm on Instagram under my book title, Until the Lion Speaks, Facebook. I'm not hard to find, man. You know, I'm out here in these streets, man, just trying to make these streets better and safer for our people, man. You know, I work for Chicago Cred. So like I said, I'm on social media, Billy Moore, Until the Lion Speaks. You know, just hit me up. That's how the brother Jason found me. You know, he hit me up on Twitter, you know.
That sounds like my cousin. And where can they buy the book at, Billy? Is it on Amazon?
It's on Amazon. Yep. You can get off Amazon, Barnes and Noble. Yeah.
And Billy, did you self-publish this book? Or did
No, I didn't. I went through a publishing company.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't want to, I didn't want to. It's like, so it's like, how you watching Prime, right? Or Tubi.
Yeah.
Little hood movies, what I'm saying? As opposed to watching, I didn't want to be like a little hood movie, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So I try to get as much distribution as possible, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
No offense to that, because I watch them, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, they're not getting ever. I wanted to really just go on a route to where, the work that I do, man, I like I said, I've been fortunate to work with at least 150 young men, but I was hoping that my book could reach the masses, and I think that, if I can get in front of 150,000 young men, you know what I'm saying? I'm because my story is really encapsulating the story of 1 million young Black men throughout this country.
Yeah.
I think they can relate to me. And I think that, if they, especially the brothers from Chicago, because Lance, Jason, you read it. This is a real Chicago story.
It is.
It's not just, the incident, it's only within a few pages of a chapter that I talk about me and Benji, right? Mm-hmm. But it's 36 chapters in my book. And a lot of that is about my life growing up in Chicago and the culture of Chicago, especially in the 80s.
Yep.
So I think it's a real good Chicago story that anybody that lived in Chicago can definitely relate to. And I think when you think about a lot of the circumstances that young Black men are growing up in this country, they can see themselves in Billy and Benji.
I agree. Hey, man, I appreciate this, brother Billy.
Thank you.
I know we've been working to get this done, and I think we have set the tone that we wanted to set with this interview. And
man, I appreciate it.
We hope people tune in. If they didn't watch it, they can still watch it on YouTube or on the Sports Zone Chicago app or on the Roku channel. Also, those of you go out, buy that book. Trust me, it is an incredible read. I told Billy that. It's just incredible. You have to read this book. If you grew up in Chicago as a young Black man, there's stuff in there you're going to be like, yeah, I know exactly what that is. Or, yeah, I did that shit too. Or, ooh, how did I avoid that one? I mean, I was just all over the place. I read the book in like a day and a half. It is absolutely incredible. But, I thought because of our family's history in basketball and our ties to Benji and just the people in the basketball community, I really thought Lance and I were the only people who could really do this interview. You've done a lot of interviews, you've been a lot of places, but to bring this really to our community, I really felt Lance and I were the ones who really needed to do this. And that's why we dedicated our entire show tonight to this, because Maurice Cheeks, famous basketball player, lost his brother to Chicago violence. Quentin Hugh Richardson, lost his brother to Chicago violence. And Lance, you can name a number of players who've lost their lives to Chicago violence. Hell, we just lost one of our female basketball players who played at Marshall.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're not immune because they're athletes to this type of stuff that happens. And I'm just so grateful that you took the time to come on here, Billy. And you and I are going to stay in touch because we got a lot more to do. I work as a journalist, so I'm always looking to build up people who can point me in the right direction, different things. So I just really appreciate you coming on, telling your story, but I appreciate most the work that you are trying to do to turn the tide in the streets of Chicago, brother. I really appreciate this.
Thank you. Hey, man, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate you and Brother Lance. I'm humble, man. I really appreciate this. Thank you.
All right. Take care. All right. We're going to take a break. We'll finish up tonight's show. We got a couple more topics. You're watching What's Up, Cuz, man. I need some water. I did a lot of talking.
Man, you sure did, boy. Oh, you've been talking, even about them bad Dolphins. That a Dolphin Cup?
No, it's not a Dolphin Cup, smart aleck. I swear. Boy, people dogging me and my team out around
Not again. Stop!
Welcome back, everybody, to Sports Zone Chicago and the What's Up Cuz Show. I'm the host, Jason Palmer, along with my cousin, Lance C. Urban. We got to burn through some topics here, Lance C. Urban. We got to burn through some topics, and I don't know where to start. You know what? I know where I want to start.
Let's roll.
Baseball. There's a new World Series champion led by an African-American manager, Dusty Baker. Finally got that World Series ring he's been craving as a manager. And even though I hate the Houston assholes, that's what I call them.
Jay, we have people from Texas watching us.
I don't care. I can't stand the damn.
Can you be politically correct?
Not tonight. I'm not.
I meant to come on the show with my toothpick. But shout out to Dusty Baker, Jay. After 50 years being in MLB, had some heartbreaks, man. Some certain situation where I thought he should have won, but he won it at the right time. And he was telling the story about, or somebody said the story about how he thought he was going to get the Phillies job, the managerial job.
Okay.
Didn't get it. He was down in the dumps. 2 weeks later, the Houston Astros called, and the Sun told him, you didn't get the Phillies job because it's meant for you to take the Houston job. Takes the Houston job, Jay, and he gets something that's been eluding him for 50 years. They better have 50 diamond rings in this championship ring.
Yes.
Shout out to Dusty Baker. I think I was pulling for him, Jay, because I wanted Dusty to win. I was pulling for Dusty. I was pulling for Dusty. Jay, you keep saying that, but they just bent the rules a little bit.
I forgot who I'm talking to. I don't even know who I'm talking. Mr. Bob Baffert, number one fan over here. I don't even know what I'm thinking about. Let me leave you alone.
But Jay, hopefully when we get Coach Ernest Ratcliffe from Morgan Park High School on it, he said they was going to beat the Yankees, and he said Dusty and them was going to win the World Series.
Well, Coach Ratcliffe was right. I can't lie. Congratulations, Dusty, but screw the Astros. All right, congratulations. Hey, let's stay on top of baseball. Our team out here on the south side, we finally picked somebody.
Jay, that's what I meant to ask you, Jay.
Pedro Grifol is the new White Sox manager. I don't know nothing about the man, but he's now a new manager, and I'm just glad it ain't Tony La Russa.
Jay, I need to do some more research. I thought I can't recall if he's the third base coach.
He was the bench coach.
Like that. He was the bench coach. Yes. So I need to do some research. But one thing I like, Jay, that he did though, he went across the street from the stadium and went to the hot dog joint. They got some good food in that joint too, Jay. The shrimp are unreal over there. So at least he was savvy enough to go get him some food. So that's his first hit, Jay. You got to hit to start off.
He won the press conference.
He won it.
Hey, let me tell you, I'm liking this guy more and more. And a lot of people that I talk to, baseball people, said to be happy about this hire. This guy holds people accountable. I mean, he says all the right things. Now, if we see it, fine. But he looks like, just look at him. Lance, you've dealt with thousands of athletes. Jason, you've seen thousands of athletes in your referee and your officiating days. You know when a kid can turn it on because he's like, and I don't mean obsessed in a bad way,
right?
You know what I mean? But you see certain athletes, certain kids, and like, oh, I can see him going ham. I can see him whether it's in baseball, whether it's football, basketball, volleyball, hockey, soccer. He's got that.
He passed the eye test.
He's got that look in his eye where he can go ham, and he'll get in your face. He'll chew your ass out if that's what needs be. He'll hug you and say, "Hey, don't worry, it'll be better," if that's what needs be. And this is what I've gotten. Scott Merkin gave us a thumbs of approval today. I had him on this morning. Talked to Junior, Ozzie Junior, said, saying this guy's good.
Junior gave him credit.
Yeah,
Junior gave him credit.
Junior was tuning in tonight. Junior said this is the best interview he's seen in Chicago. Thank you, Ozzie. Ozzie Junior, I appreciate that. That's our guy. Ozzie Junior.
Oh no, you know what? I'm sorry, it wasn't Ozzie. I got to ask you to confirm it. It was Matt, Southside Zoe.
Oh, Southside Zoe. Okay, got you.
Yeah, Southside Zoe said this is a dude because I have those two on all the time. So like, and I don't know how I confused
Armando being negative. Armando said they said that about Renteria.
And you know what? Truth be told, we don't know how good Rick Renteria would have been, right? Because you honestly realize that he had those guys. They were having fun, right? They were literally just starting. They were literally just starting, and you talk about it because the last 2 years they looked like they were going to work. First with Renteria, they looked like they were playing baseball.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
We'll see.
All right, so our White Sox got a new manager. Congratulations to Pedro. We look forward to seeing you. I may buy some more tickets now because at least we got a new manager. All right, the next topic. What I want to go to? Oh, Lance, college basketball starts tonight.
Hey. Matter of fact, shout out to my little brother Nicholas Irvin. Arizona State came on at, want to say 6 or 7 o'clock Chicago time, so I'm missing the game. But Jay, people asking me, why you looking like you so happy? It's college basketball season. Let's see about to go watch us some games. Don't call Jay. I told don't call me about the job. Don't call me about nothing. I'm in coach mode. Last he's watching him some games. Let's go get it. North Carolina, Jay. That's my early horse.
That's your early season pick to
North
win it all?
Carolina, Mardo Baycott, RJ Black. They got the whole team back, Jay.
Okay.
Caleb Love, RJ Davis. Caleb Love. Taking Carolina as my early pick.
Okay.
Illinois going to be awfully good too, though. Shout out to Brad Underwood, Jay. I talked to him the other night. I'm trying to get him on the show, but we need to go watch a game.
Excellent.
Shout out. Come on. Talk to me.
Excellent.
Talk to me. I'm getting fired up already.
I don't have a pick, but I knew that was something to get those juices.
I'm getting fired up already.
Who you got on the women's side? That was my other question.
You know what? The women's side, that's kind of tough, Jay. I like my man Vic Schaefer at Texas. This is second year at Texas.
And
Vic
Sydney Carter. Sydney is there now,
loaded.
too.
Sydney, shout out to Sydney. See, you trying to get Sydney back on the show.
Yes, I am.
But shout out to the local teams. You know, you always want Illinois to do good. We want Loyola. We want Southern
our girl Kelly down in Southern Illinois.
And we got a shout out to Corey at Mississippi State. Corey said they have a really good team this year too. So
okay,
shout out. And UIC. We need UIC to do well too. I went to watch them practice a couple of months ago. So shout out to UIC.
And shout out to our former guest, Coach D. Brown at Roosevelt University. He picked up his first coaching win the other day. And his boy Tracy Webster was there to congratulate him. So shout out to
Coach D. Watch D. Matter of fact, I got to go over their schedule. I told you I got a lot of games to go see in a short period of time. These 3-4 months go real quick.
Well, by the way, on the women's side, I'm picking South Carolina. I'm rolling with Dawn Staley's squad.
You can never go against Dawn Staley in South Carolina. You know what? I don't want Byron call me, cursing me out. She is loaded, though. You know that's B.I. girl, Dawn Staley. So shout out. It's going to be a great season. We're
going to go with Dawn Staley. So college basketball has started tonight. Go watch all the basketball you need like Lance Irvin is. All right. The Boston Bruins with they silly asses. So I got to give people a little bit of background on this. So last week they signed this moron. His name is Mitchell Miller. Okay. He also ironically played for like Team USA in the juniors. He's a hockey player, plays for the Boston Bruins. This fool, when he was 14 years old, he fake befriended an African-American kid who has some learning disabilities. And he acted like he was his friend, but he actually was bullying him, mistreating him, calling him names, doing all this stuff. The worst thing he did was he took a lollipop, swiped it in a bathroom urinal, and then gave it to the kid, like, here, have some candy, and the kid licked it. So he ended up getting in a whole lot of trouble. The young man who was the victim had to be tested for a bunch of STVs. I mean, it's just a horrific story. And he did this. He got in a whole lot of trouble. And then, a few years later, here come the Boston Bruins saying, well, let's offer him a contract to our minor league facility so that he'll have a path going forward. And now the whole story's come out that he never really apologized to the victim's family. He never really took responsibility for his actions. And that even as a young adult, he's still a dickhead, basically, is what the story is about. So people have been going in on the Boston Bruins like you couldn't even imagine. And I know there's been a lot of news about Kyrie and his situation, and people saying, well, what about Brett Favre? Okay, well, how about this fool, Mitchell Miller? Because this dude did some horrendous stuff. So eventually everybody jumped down the Boston Bruins' throat. We said this is why Boston has got a reputation as a racist city, because you hire racists, you do this type of dumb stuff. So today, Cam Neely, the general manager of the Boston Bruins, announced that they have rescinded the contract offer they made to Mitchell Miller, and they'd like to apologize to everybody for even offering him a contract because they found out new information about him which went against their code of ethics.
You said enough about that. I'm not even touching that topic because all the money they have to investigate these type of issues, Jay, you're not getting two people that understand sports like right. Tell that to somebody that don't know, but I'm gonna tell y'all that's not the truth. They just thought they were getting a really good player, and they thought they was gonna slide it up under the rug and wasn't nobody gonna notice. Stop it.
So they thought they were gonna get away with it.
Stop
in 2022. I don't know how you think you're gonna get away
no
with
way.
it. They thought they were gonna get away with it. They got busted. The public went ham on them, and then they're like, oh, he shouldn't have a contract. So
no way.
Boston Bruins, thumbs down to you. Another topic I want to get to really quick. What was it? Did I write this?
The travel baseball?
No, it's not. What about travel baseball? What did I miss?
We're gonna get Kenny Foreman on the show. He's with the Sox Ace Academy.
Oh, we get Kenny.
I talked to Kenny this weekend. He was like, call me. He'd love to do it. He's the only program that's fully funded by an MLB baseball team.
Nice.
Shout out.
Got to get him on. I got a couple of my classmates, their kids play in the A's program too.
Yeah.
So I know he's doing some outstanding work as well. And because we were talking about Ben Wilson tonight so much, we need to let everyone know that the street that Benji grew up on, 78th and Eberhard, they are doing a street honor, the brown signs they put up. What do you call those things? The honorary street sign. Yeah. On the block he grew up on, 78th and Eberhard, there's going to be a ceremony that takes place on November the 21st at 1 p.m. That's Sunday, November 21st at 1 p.m. There's a street dedication sign. No, that's not a Sunday. That's a Monday because it's 21st because the Bears play on the 20th. On the 21st, that Monday the 21st at 1 o'clock p.m., there's going to be a street dedication sign. I'm going to try to get down there so I can do some photos and do some interviews and come back later that day on What's Up Cuz.
Do the photos. We're gonna have to do that from the Whitney Young. Whitney Young is playing Kenwood that day also, Jay.
Oh, Lord.
So we need to do something from the Whitney Young. Kenwood.
And let me know when y'all playing Limballoon too. Please don't beat us that bad. I'm going to call Mike and tell him, please don't.
It's at Limballoon, I think.
It is. That's why I'm going. It's gonna be like the biggest game we've had in 30 years. Please don't beat us by 40, cousin Mike. Please call the press off after the first quarter. We'll be all right. Please don't do that.
Limballoon actually has a decent team this year, Jay.
Oh, good.
They're actually gonna be pretty good.
And is Coach Newell from the family tree? Is he off the? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, yeah. But
they got a good team.
He got to grow.
They still got to get beat though, but they have a very good team though, Jay.
Please don't blow us out. Don't blow us out. I want to know that. Also, St. Rita, the Mustangs football. They are in the quarterfinals of the IHS State Finals. I have to mention that otherwise, Sean.
Yeah.
You know who else in the finals too, Jay? Kenwood
Kenwood.
Broncos.
Kenwood.
Simeon Morgan Park is still in. Kenwood
Morgan
still
Park
in.
still in.
St.
Kenwood
Rita's still
I
in.
remember Sean came on the show at the beginning of the year talking about it ain't gonna be a good year for the Mustang. And here they are at the damn quarterfinals.
You know what? Because they needed help at the quarterback position. So what they did what the Bears are doing. They decided to run the ball on everybody. They got two running backs who are just one's a bowling ball. One's a bowling ball who just doesn't seem to go down. Another one's a tough kid who's got a lot of speed. So they've been doing that. And their defense, as the show was going on, they just got a thing. They want to vote one of their linebackers, Matt Kingsbury.
Mm-hmm.
His dad and I played together. His dad was a year younger than me in '88. Well, he's still a year younger than me, but he was a junior when I was a senior. And his dad's a stud linebacker who ended up going to Purdue with Mike Allstott and the whole nine.
Okay.
Mike Allstott.
So his son is up for the IHSA Defensive Player of the Year.
Excellent.
So,
Wow.
That's
There you
crazy.
go.
Yeah.
And then so that's the kind of football news. So once again, Morgan Park is still in it. Kenwood is still in it. St. Rita is still in it. Mount Carmel. He hates Mount Carmel. Mount Carmel is also still in it, but they're also a Chicago team.
Don't ever mention them again, dude. Don't.
So we gotta mention them. So support the Chicago local high school teams that are still in it. And then our final topic, we may not be here next week. And I hate to announce this, but this might be our final show of What's Up, cuz Sean. I hate to tell you that. Because tonight, Powerball is at $2 billion. So, if Jason Palmer wins, it has been nice knowing you people. I don't know you. Anything I did in my past, I will deny, and I will have a team full of lawyers to help me, and I will no longer be in America. I just want everybody to know that, which is why we have to end this show, because ticket sales will cut off in about 20 minutes, and Jay got to go get his damn ticket.
And I got to go get mine too, Jay. And if I hit now, I'm going to buy you some nice drip. We're going to get the What's Up Cuz pendant, the What's Up Cuz rope chain. We're going to get us we're going to go get us one of them nice Maybach trucks. We're going to have Jay, Lance, what's up, cuz? Hey, I got plans for it.
And then you know what's going to happen after that?
What's that?
We're going to get robbed. That's what's going to happen. You are the exact reason why my wife said she don't want us to win no $2 billion damn dollars. Everybody gonna be calling you, asking you for money.
You gotta think positive.
People gonna be trying to rob you. Your old kids gonna try to kill you to get there.
Sharice's mindset not right.
Look. What is wrong? All right. Now, I know, Lance. I know you come from a tribe. Okay, apparently the internet wasn't working back in the day. You got like 15 brothers and sisters. Internet was down. My mom's the same thing. She's one of 10 kids. Internet wasn't working over in Pilsen either. So, hey, what are you gonna do? All right.
Right.
What is wrong with saying counting up how many people you got? Saying 100. What do you got, Lance? 100 people that you like super close to, family and friends. Want to say 500? Say 500. Just give them 10 grand each.
Everybody gonna get
give them 10 grand each. All right, 10 grand each. 500 people. All right, times 10 grand each. It's $5 million. All right, you got $1.9 billion, bro.
Because then they're gonna come back and say, "Why don't you give me 50,000 each, motherfucker? You got the money. You know how people are."
Hey, here's what you say. Here's what I got. I got this for you. If you can't
take it or leave it, that's your fault.
Let me know right now.
That's your fault. Take it or leave it.
Then this 50,000, I give it to someone else.
Exactly.
I'll just spread it out to everybody else. Give them, you know what I'm saying? Simple.
So you're doing a one-time offer.
One-time deal.
And matter of fact,
don't call me for shit. Don't ask me for shit. Don't bother me for shit. Okay? Send me. Hey, you didn't gotta invite me to parties. Just let me know you're having a party. I'll send a card, maybe a little money for your wedding, for the birthday. I got too much damn money that if I'm in public and hey, what's up, bro? How you doing? Hey, good to see you. Hey, I'm a little light up. No. I don't want to deal.
No.
I'll send a Zoom message that we can have put on a screen at your wedding, at your birthday, on a computer. I'm gonna be
Man,
somewhere.
what you gonna do? How you gonna handle that?
I know how to say no. No is not a problem to me. I'm gonna say no the same way I've been saying no. But where we supposed to be at Sunday before I get my theme music and roll out? Where am I meeting you guys at on Sunday?
So on Sunday, November the 20th, this is our final news of the day. We are having a Bears viewing party at Output Sports Bar and Lounge in Chicago. Finally, since COVID has calmed the hell down, we can finally do a live event where we can meet all of our fans. Oh my God, all the Sports Zone Chicago personalities are going to be there. The Smoke Fellas are going to be there. Lakina McGee is going to be there. Sean's going to be there. Maya's going to be there. Jamar Hart's going to be there. We're going to be there. Everyone come out. Those of you who ain't going to Atlanta, which is half of Chicago, but
Half
who are not,
that doesn't go to Atlanta, you can come.
half that doesn't go to Atlanta, please come to Output Sports Bar and Lounge. You can watch the game with us. You can hang out with us. You can talk about me because I'll probably be wearing a Dolphins outfit and they'll be throwing beer at me.
Matter of fact, so you gonna pay me the wings that you owe me on that day too?
You know what Jason's like? You know who Jason is? Jason's like that kid from University of Michigan who after they beat Michigan State runs into the crowd of Michigan State talking shit like, we just won. Then he wondered why he got his ass kicked. And they say, oh, that's horrible what they did to him. Like, well, don't go over there and talk shit and be a bad sport. Jason's gonna be okay, Jay. I'll be like, do you know him? Like, no, I think he's friends with Lance. I'm not sure.
No, because I'm gonna say that is my cousin, but I give y'all permission. Come over here so I can whoop his butt before y'all do it. Don't show up wearing that teal either, man. Don't show up wearing that teal. See,
look at him right there. Number one, going in there talking shit. Like there's no reason for you to be there, dog. What they did was wrong. I'm not condoning that by any stretch. But don't go, man. Don't go and mess with the Lions. You know what I'm saying? These kids just got their ass whooped, and you're gonna go talk shit by yourself. You left your team. You ran away from your team.
And he took his
away from your team. Don't worry, I can handle it against. Come on, man.
Why did he take his? You know what? That right there. But anyway,
But yeah, November 20th. It's sponsored by Miller Lite. So throughout the game, there's going to be Miller Lite giveaways all throughout the game. They got tons of swag. They just had I talked to the guy. He's gonna send me some pictures and we'll put it up. We'll give it to you for next week or some stuff that he's gonna have. I believe 2 tickets are gonna be available as well. I'm gonna treat Jason like we do Phil at Output. Oh man, nice.
Phil is my homeboy. If I got my friends treating me like this.
Hey, Phil is a resident Packer fan, and we give him shit all the time. So, so yeah, 2 tickets. I have to confirm, but we preliminary talked about it. 2 tickets to a Bears game will be raffled off for later in the year, and it's scheduled to. We're going to do a pre-halftime and a post-game show. So you guys will be on one of the 3 shows, either the pre, the half, or the post. And it'll be. You get the best wings in the city of Chicago.
Sean, they like that.
Man, they're like
that.
Man, I'm telling you, he don't even get in the contest no more. He don't even get in the contest anymore.
Kind of sort now. Y'all been holding on. Okay, we'll see.
They don't even get in the contest anymore for like 3 or 4 years straight. He won first for his exotic wings, which were sweet and spicy. He won second for his hot wings. Then the next year he won first for his hot wings and second for the sweet and spicy. At Wing Fest. Then he had Wing Out. He was like a fan favorite for 3 years, and he was a back-to-back champion at Wing Out.
Oh,
he's won all kinds of awards, man.
I'm bringing a fool critic. If the fool critic likes him, then he's doing something.
Everybody come out. We're gonna have a good time. We're gonna have a real good time. Well, hey, great episode, guys. Time to get out of here. We gotta get these lottery tickets. We may be here next week. If we ain't, you know why.
If we ain't, call me because I'm at my cousin Jason's house.
I'm moving.
So see, there you go.
All right, for my cousin Lancey Irvin, our producer Sean Sierra, I'm Jason Palmer. Thank you for tuning in to What's Up, Cuz. We will see you all next week. Maybe. Peace.
I'm gonna have my drip on next week, cuz this is a little lightweight.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun, we will march on till victory. We will march on to victory. Let us march on to victory.